We have, excuse me, I have to put on my eye devices. Corey Moore is our development manager with Noah Homes, and Jerry Godinez. Godinez, all right. And he's
the senior manager of the dementia care homes at Noah Homes.
We may see him later, some of us. Anyway, they've been with Noah Homes for a while. Corey, not as long, not quite a year. He's the development man, so he's out. He's the one that makes sure that they're solvent. And Jerry is...
Next month will be 19 years.
Wow, that's great. So it goes by quick, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So anyway, they're going to talk to us, tell us the story about Noah Homes, and they've got a nice presentation here. Afterwards, we'll ask some questions and see what develops. So I'll turn it over to these guys. Please give them a welcome.
Thank you, Barry. First off, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Corey Moore, born and raised here in San Diego. Really want to thank Barry and you guys for having us out today, and thank you all for your continued support of the amazing work we do, which you'll hear a little bit more about today. I was smart enough to bring Jerry along with me. He knows a lot more than I do about this stuff. I'm still kind of learning the ropes, but happy to share everything we do with you guys. Start off a little pun, get to Noah us. Hope you appreciated that. All right, a little bit about the history of what we do. We're out in Spring Valley, kind of between, it's technically Spring Valley, I call it Rancho San Diego, Hummel, it's all out there. We started, the land was an alfalfa farm. It started with a group of moms that had, Catholic mothers, that had children with intellectual and developmental disabilities. It was a group of 6 moms, and they had nowhere for their kids to go during the day. So they all got together and wanted to create a kind of social community where their children could thrive and create friendships and bonds and build connections with people similar to themselves. And 42 years later, it's grown to the amazing place it is now. We have 11 acres and 90 residents currently. So it's grown exponentially, and their vision of a social community has flourished, and it's amazing. Definitely something you have to come visit and see for yourself, the vibrancy of the community and how well it meshes. Let's see. I did bring a little video. This is, I think, the only video we have today. It's a short one, but it's a day in the life of one of our residents, Laura, and it'll really give you a kind of a sense of what we're about and what our folks go through in a day-to-day experience. So I'm going to play this video.
My name is Laura. I live in Casa de Fe. Join me on a day of my life.
Can I come in?
I like to start my day early. Always make my bed before leaving. My staff helps me out if I need it. I say good morning to my housemate. Eat breakfast. I get to catch up with my morning staff. My staff is very compassionate and kind and take care of me. My boyfriend Tim always walks me to my event in the morning. The riding team is fun. I catch up with my friends, listen to fun music. At day program, I work on the garden, take dance classes in the pavilion, and make art at Sophie's Gallery. we get picked up from St. Matt's at 3. My friends and I tell our staff about our day. When we get back, we relax before the evening activity is Monday. So we have dance class. It's a lot of fun with my friends and my boyfriend. Throughout the week at Noah Homes, there are many activities and my favorites are People First. I am the president of our chapter. My friends and I advocate for ourselves. I love it when we have dances with our social club. Thank you for joining me for a day in my life.
Thank you. Laura is one of my best friends. She is amazing. She's lived at Noah Homes for years now. I guess I should go back a little bit and just clarify for those of you who don't know what Noah Homes is. We provide housing and create this social community for over 90 adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities here throughout San Diego County. So that's what we do as a whole. You might have seen she goes to a day program called St. Madeleine Sophie's Center. Some of you might be familiar with that as well. Almost all of our residents go to some sort of day program during the day and then live at Noah Homes. So yeah, about 70% of our residents live or go to St. Madeleine Sophie Center in particular. They're kind of one of our sister organizations of sorts. Okay, sorry. Yeah, Noah by the numbers. Like I mentioned, we started out as that little alfalfa farm in Spring Valley, and we currently have 11 acres. We have 10 homes that house our 90 folks. And for those 90 residents, we have about 130 staff that we have staffing in the homes 24/7. We have a full admin staff. And what that allows us to do is really create social freedom in the fact that any of our residents at any time a little group of their friends can say, we want to go to the beach next Tuesday. And we'll find a staff member that can take them to the beach that day. We have a fleet of over 35 vans and vehicles that can allow us to go on these little outings, even if it's to go to Starbucks. Whatever the folks want, we'll make it happen. They're living the life for sure. I'm jealous. All right, I'm going to pass it over to Jerry for a little bit. He's going to speak about some of the disabilities we house at Noah Homes and some of the links between disabilities and Alzheimer's.
Thank you, Corey. Just to add to what Corey said and to put things into perspective, and good morning, by the way, I am also a Brother Knight. Beautiful church you guys have out here, amazing. But Noah Homes was, when it started in 1983, was this best kept secret in Jamul in the East County. We have one house with only 6 residents. Now we have 10 homes with 90 residents. And in 2017, we opened the first 2 dementia care homes for people with developmental disabilities in the state of California. That brought a lot of attention, and we're not that best kept secret anymore. We have not only regional, but national attention because of the model of care for folks that are developing dementia that have Down syndrome particularly. So with that being said, we have a wait list of over 200 people that want to live in the dementia care homes, but we only have 20 spots, and they don't open until somebody passes away. So we have had people call us from Texas, Washington, is like, how much do I need to pay to have my kid live at Noah Homes, and we're a nonprofit. We don't make any money, and we need to fundraise for 30% to keep our operations. So your guys' donation, the nights that have supported us for years, it goes a long way to provide this 24/7 care. Also, and I was sharing with your name again, sorry, Barry, that the new trend is to have small homes within the community, 4 or 6 beds. That's kind of what the federal government wants to see. So everything that's big, like Noah Homes, it's frowned upon. There's not going to be another Noah Homes. They don't want that because it sounds like an institution. But if you come out and visit, you will see that we're nothing but. We're nothing like an institution. But anyway, just to keep in perspective, if you haven't come out to Noah Homes, please come visit. I'll be happy. Corey will be happy to give you a tour of what we do. We're very proud. We want you to leave this talk being proud of what's happening with Noah Homes because we're Catholic and we have a great mission. We really do. There's no placement for people with disabilities that are aging, and people are desperate because if you can imagine, their parents are also getting older. They can't keep care for them. And like I'm about to explain, there's a link between having Down syndrome and getting Alzheimer's disease. How many of you know someone with Down syndrome that was born with Down syndrome? Okay, good. How about somebody with dementia? Okay, so unfortunately, and we know that we just went through a pandemic, right? Everybody knows about that. Now, if you didn't know what a pandemic was, now you know, hands on. Do you guys know what an epidemic is? Well, that's happening with dementia. It's happening everywhere. It's happening in the States. It's happening worldwide. And unfortunately, what we discover is that people that are born with Down syndrome, because of that extra chromosome that they have, that we already knew that made them age faster than the general population, they also have a gene in there that's telling them to produce more of the beta amyloid and the TIU plaques that accumulate in the brain at a faster pace than the general population. So they get Alzheimer's disease at an earlier age, mostly in their 40s. So what was happening at Noah Homes, and I'm sorry I'm deviating a little bit from this because this is more like class content and I don't want to get too, technical, was that all those people that moved into Noah Homes in 1983 and the 90s, in their 20s and 30s, they were hitting 40s and 50s, and they started to develop all the signs and symptoms of dementia. But we didn't know what dementia was. So unfortunately, these folks had to go somewhere else where they can care for them 24/7 because we didn't know how to deal with aggression, with not sleeping, with wandering, with confusion, with disorientation, all those things that happen with dementia. And then somebody came and told us what's happening is that people with Down syndrome pretty much are genetically doomed to get Alzheimer's disease if they live long enough. So it was happening to most of our folks. And it was very heartbreaking because these, like Corey said, they become your friends. And I've been working at Noah Homes for almost 20 years. We've been aging together. And I start seeing them go through the dementia, and we couldn't care for them because it exceeded what our license permits. We didn't have the staffing, we didn't have the resources, and we need to send these folks to skilled nursing facilities or to hospitals or to places like this where their decline went faster and they passed away soon after. This was devastating because for them, number one, but also for their families, and then for us. It hit us personally. So we had a dream to build the memory care homes, dementia care homes, and people came forward, donated. We had the buildings in 2016, but we couldn't operate because there was nothing in the regulation for folks with disabilities that also get dementia. There was nothing. We had to go tell the legislators to create this little spot for us to fund us. So we had the buildings, we couldn't open. But thank you to the reputation that Noah Homes has and the connections, we were able to create a little place there, and they gave us a category to open, and we opened the first dementia care homes in the state of California in 2017. We welcomed 20 residents total, 16 from within our homes that were going through this early stages of dementia, and we invited 4 people from the San Diego community to join us. So that was a little bit off the record, but I think I covered most of those things. So if you didn't know, people with Down syndrome will get Alzheimer's disease if they live long enough. The life expectancy of people with Down syndrome has increased significantly. In the 80s, when Noah Homes opened, people with Down syndrome in the United States used to live only 35 years. That was the life expectancy. And then we saw a big jump in the 90s because of more inclusion in society, because advances in medical and health. Now they are very close to living the same life expectancy than people that are born without Down syndrome, which is all of us. So they live well into their 50s. Still, 20% will live to be 60 or more. And so there's two interesting things happening today for people with Down syndrome. One is that they're living longer, and they're having, like you saw with Laura, very good lives. You know, they get to work, they go to activities, they're everywhere, they are able to study. There's very successful people. A lot of TikTok, I think, Instagram influencers, YouTube influencers, and they live fulfilling lives, but they're gonna get Alzheimer's. And the other thing that's happening is that there's not a lot of people with Down syndrome being born anymore because of something called pre-screening, prenatal screening. So, and this is a very personal choice, of course, but I know us as Catholics, we don't support this, but when you know that your baby is coming or has a high chance of being born with Down syndrome, a lot of people are choosing to terminate pregnancy. And in some places, this is becoming part of the law, like places like Denmark or Finland and stuff like that, where there's 0 people being born with Down syndrome, because the government says, if there's a chance of this person being born with a disability, we need to terminate that pregnancy, and people have no choice. So in the United States, there are a little bit of that's happening, mostly in places like Boston. You know, there's more abortions than it is people born or people that choose to have that baby. So there's a big fight. If you want to look it up, there's this lady with Down syndrome called Karen Gaffney. I don't know if you have heard. If not, look it up. Google her, amazing person. And she came to UCSD, and she gave a talk. And she could talk better than me and Corey, easily. No notes, and she spoke from the heart, and she gave us this talk, and she said 2 messages to the group, and there was not a dry eye in the room. And she said, I'm gonna get Alzheimer's. I'm almost 40. This was years ago. Please find a cure for Alzheimer's, because I'm gonna get it, and it's gonna destroy my life. And the other thing that she says, like, please give us a chance to live. Stop killing us. People with Down syndrome are valuable, and we can live fulfilling lives like anybody else. She has plenty of videos on YouTube, and it's somebody that is not, I guess I am an expert on Down syndrome and dementia, but I don't live with Down syndrome. So it's better that you hear from her than from us that are called the so-called experts. So I guess that covered most of the slides that I had, and I wanted to do this more like casual, formal than kind of like a lecture, but I'm sure we'll get to the questions that you might have after I said all this link.
Introducing some of our friends?
Yes, I can introduce some of our friends. I think, unfortunately, because of HIPAA, I cannot give you names or anything like that. But these are some of our folks, you know, and we love them. If you come to Noah Homes, you will get to meet them. But they're all thriving and living fulfilling lives. And what we have accomplished with the memory care homes, the dementia care homes, is that if they do develop signs and symptoms of dementia, which we know they will, now they can stay at home. And I think everybody in this room, if given the choice, would like to age and possibly pass away at home, instead of a place where they don't know who you are and you become a case number and everything. At Noah, we know who they are. We've been with them 20, 30 years. And that's the best care that we can provide when you're caring for a friend or for a loved one.
Awesome. Thanks, Jerry.
Yep.
All right. There's a little bit about our memory care homes that Jerry told us about. Like you said, they were the first memory care homes in the state of California specifically for adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities, so we're really proud of that. Like you mentioned, we face a deficit in money. We get funding through the state of California for room and board, so all of our residents technically pay room and board, but it comes straight from the state to Noah Homes. And then we face about a $1.2 million deficit after what the state gives us, just because of all of the amazing programs and things that we offer, we go so far above and beyond what they require us to. In fact, they require homes similar to ours to take their folks they require us to take our folks out to one outing a month. That can be taking them to the McDonald's drive-thru. Like Jerry mentioned, we have activities every day of the week. They go to Zumba on Wednesdays. We have karaoke on Thursdays. They go to dance class. They play sports, all kinds of stuff. So we face a $1.2 million deficit to make sure they are able to live the fullest lives that they can. And yeah, we're really proud of that.
There's one thing that hasn't changed from the 80s. I told you a lot of things that have changed. There's one that hasn't changed. We get the same funding. They've been on a freeze since the 80s. So what Noah Homes were receiving from the government as board and care and whatever, it has not gone up because people with disabilities don't have a voice. And the first that get affected when there has to be cuts is people that are not going to complain, right? Are not going to say anything. And that's been us. And that's why we kind of say, hey, this is what we're doing. These people need to eat. They need a place to live, But yeah, they're being on a freeze for 40 years now? Yeah.
Yeah. So like I mentioned, like Barry said, I'm the development manager at NOAA. So I'm in charge of all our fundraising. We do that through a variety of methods. We get state funded through room and board. We get both private and public grants through the local county districts and through foundations throughout San Diego, the state of California, and nationally. We don't get any federal funding as of right now. We do 2 big events each year, which I'll talk to you guys about in a second. But we also just rely on individual funding through our monthly giving program called the NOAA Society. And just a lot of it through the local Knights chapters, so thank you very much. We have partnerships with a lot of the councils and really do rely on the funding for the work we do. So one of those 2 big events, I'm just going to talk to you guys a little bit about these 2 because we'd love to have you guys out. On December 6th, we do something called our Enchanted Village Gala. Now, some of you guys, have any of you guys ever been out to our light display? No? Barry has. So prior to last year, we would do a large light display. We'd run it for a week and a half. Beautiful. And we decided to last year go to a more gala style model. It saved our staff a lot of time and resources. And instead of doing 8 nights to the public where thousands of people would come a night, we had about 200 of our closest friends and donors and made 3 times the money last year. So this is going to be the model moving forwards. But it was really a great event. We had poker tables and jazz and some food and drinks. And it was a wonderful night of fundraising and really great time. So would love to have you guys out to that. You can get a little sneak peek. Santa's there if you want to meet Santa. We got lights. And you can meet some of our residents also. So that's a really fun one. But before that, on June 7th, we're having our Summerfest event, which is a large, we're doing tri-tip and chicken on the grill. We have live music, all kinds of good stuff. So that's going to be a really fun event. It's on site at Noah Homes. You can see our beautiful property, see some of the homes, and it's a great night of fundraising as well. Tickets are on sale now. On that table, when you checked in, there's QR codes there also. If you want to take a little sneak peek, there's some pictures from past Summerfest events. And another great way to get involved is through volunteering. At our events, at both our Enchanted Village Gala and at Summerfest, we have nights that volunteer every year. So that is definitely a great opportunity. But besides events, we have volunteer opportunities throughout the week at Noah Homes. It is, like we said, we're out in Spring Valley, and it's very rewarding. So feel free to connect with me after if that's something you're interested in. as you can see, it says volunteers save Noah Homes about $37 an hour on the volunteer labor. So you're also really helping us out a lot by doing that as well. Sorry, one more thing. You can see some of the examples of stuff that you can come do. It's all fun. If you guys have any hobbies that even aren't listed, we always say if you have a hobby, one of our residents would also love to do it. So if you like flying RC planes or whatever, one of our residents will get a kick out of it. So we'd love to connect. Yeah, there's a little bit about what we talked about already. And I think that's about it for us. We're gonna do a little Q&A, and we'll see what Barry has set up.
I got a couple questions. First, you mentioned other organizations, like partner organizations that that you are affiliated with. You had the St. Madeline's and then the Sophie Center. How many partner organizations do you have, and do they gain anything? For example, do they get funding as well for helping you with your residents? Is there federal or any state funding that they stand to get? What's in it for them?
Speak to that a little bit. So I mentioned St. Madeleine Sophie Center. That's one of the day programs that we partner with. Well, we say partner with. Each of our residents goes through the San Diego Regional Center to be placed at Noah Homes. Now, the Regional Center will also help to place them in a day program or find a job or whatever that individual would like to do. So that's on them to find their own day programming. We can provide a lot of the transportation and things like that. But we partner with, how many day programs do you think? Maybe 5 or 6?
Well, it's an individual choice, so the person gets to pick where they go, but St. Matt's is the biggest. They're also Catholic, and they're in East County, and they're the biggest organization. As a day program, I think they serve 300 people with disabilities. But there's the ARC of San Diego. Also, there's partnerships with industry, and there's like 10, 12 in our area, but they're all over. I'm sure up here there's different organizations that help as well.
Yeah, and in terms of funding, all the organizations kind of do their own funding, but we'll partner on grants. That's something we do a lot. We partner with local nonprofits we submit grants that are mutually beneficial. But yeah, that's really the only tie with funding.
So we partner with UCSD on empathy and compassion research projects, and they're trying to find a cure for Alzheimer's through people with Down syndrome. So since we have living with us a number of them, they have reached out, and we found that there's a way of collaborating and bring some funds to NOAA as well if we partner with them. So Dr. Raffi, Dr. Mobley, they know us. And we've been partnering with them. Also, when I mentioned that we're on a national level, there's a group called the National Task Group on Intellectual Disabilities and Dementia. They came to train us in 2016, right before we opened the memory care homes. And now we're training them, and I'm personally part of 2 committees with them, the educational and residential, because we have the experience. They have the theory, but we have the day-to-day. And since we opened in 2017, the dementia care homes, we have served 44 residents. 24 of them, unfortunately, passed away because of dementia and Alzheimer's, and they passed peacefully under hospice services at home with us at NOAA. So something that happens with folks with Down syndrome and dementia is that their dementia is the early onset type, which is more aggressive and faster. So once the decline happens, it's more rapid than it is within the general population. There's a little bit of difference between how the Alzheimer's disease shows in people with disabilities and it shows in the general population, and that's very interesting for all the researchers. And so we've been partnering with them as well in the last 5 to 7 years.
I'll also add, Take a Tour is a big one for us. We'd love to have people come out and just see the work we do firsthand. It really, we can talk to you about it all day, but once you see it, it really all clicks. So we'd love to have you guys out for a tour. I have a bunch of cards I brought with me, so I'd love to hand those out and connect.
One question that I had was medical and psychological professionals that are they? Do you have them on staff?
Well, no, that's one of the amazing things about Noah Homes. We are a social model of care. We're not a medical model of care. So when we got hit with that, that the folks need an increase medical attention, what we do is that because the dementia care homes are a level 4, which is the highest level of care needed, we're not only 24/7, but we have access to consultants. So we have nurses, we have physical therapists, we have behavior specialists that come to Noah Homes to provide services to our residents, but we don't have any medical, we cannot have any medical personnel on site because we're an ARF, which is an adult residential facility, and we're just designed to support people from 18 to 59 years old. So that's another thing we had to educate the government, the California Department of Social Services, that people with Down syndrome are getting slammed with Alzheimer's in their 40s. So they couldn't understand why they were young and having a disease that happens to older people. They go to what they call the RCFE, which is Residential Care Facility for the Elderly. As we know, Alzheimer's disease is something that doesn't happen to young people. Usually, there's exceptions, but it's something that happens in older age. So when we were saying, hey, our folks are dying of dementia, they were like, what are you talking about? They're in their 40s. So we had to do this. What I did today, condense, was to the authorities, said, hey, it's not that we're not treating them right, it's because they have this dementia, that's happening. So they were like, oh, and guess what? Now they have people slamming on the doors trying to open dementia care homes, which we were ahead of the game and opened 7 years ago.
And then I'll just add, we also partner we bring in, when the time comes, we bring in hospice agencies to our homes, and that's how we're able to provide that end-of-life care as well. So.
Are there plans to expand? In other words, you got such a demand from all over the country. Any expansion plans?
In terms of expansion, we're expanding the services we offer. In terms of and Jerry's very instrumental in this and can speak to it more. We're building out our training institute of excellence, it's called, and we're providing. You want to speak to this? You know more about it than I do.
Yes. Well, recently my role at the organization changed. I'm still kind of like the senior manager of the memory care homes, but because of this demand, we noticed that people were coming to us, say, hey, train us on what you're doing. We want to know. So there's one of the assisted living in California called Active Care. That is a big name for assisted living for the general population. Recognized there was a big need. So they are doing something that is very, very interesting. They open up wings of their buildings for people with disabilities. So they're doing something that Noah Homes will never be able to do because we're specialized in folks with intellectual disabilities. Active Care, after we trained them and we acted as consultants and all that, now they are mixing general population with folks with disabilities, which is amazing. And they're providing, but they are for profit. They make money out of this. We don't. We're nonprofit. So we're expanding, and we want to create it's a new dream that we have, and we hope we can get your support, is to create the Training Institute of Excellence for Noah Homes. And we have done it kind of informally for the last couple of years. We've been traveling to teach others. We're creating classes that we are now approved to give education hours to nurses, and also to administrators of ARF and RCFE homes. So that will bring some revenue to NOAA. So that's our big next project, to have this building on campus. We cannot open new homes because we're limited with our license. And like I said, they don't want to give more to something that they already perceive to being big and institutional. So there will not be another NOAA Homes. We cannot kind of replicate our model, but we can follow the guidelines that are currently in place and help others open their own dementia care homes.
You mentioned work for your clients, and I'm curious about what kind of job opportunities exist for some of the people that are in the program.
Yeah. So it can vary, but we have residents that work at Albertsons right by right by our facility. We have residents that work at Chick-fil-A. We have residents that work all over the place. Actually, I can speak to on a personal level. I got involved in this field. My younger brother has an intellectual disability and is a host at Texas Roadhouse in El Cajon. So it can vary, yeah. They all have their own interests and find what job suits them best. Anything else?
Yes, they can go and apply like anybody else and they're fit for work. I know we have a couple of years ago that work at the casino as well. Unfortunately, like with everything else, COVID hit hard, and it seems like in that particular area, we kind of went back 30 years because we had to be in home, and then when we went out, there's no jobs, for these folks. So that's another battle that we're trying to fight. That's another advocacy opportunity. So trying to put the word out there that these guys are able to do jobs and to be productive. So it's a stigma that we're fighting as well. There's not as many as we want them to be, but we're trying to change that as well.
What about when they go out on activities? Do you have to have a staff to client ratio? Like if you take them to the zoo or to the beach or something like that, be kind of a lot. If you had 10 people and there was only one person driving the van and supervising, how do you keep them from wandering off or whatever?
In that regard, it goes by levels. So at Noah Homes, we have 3 different levels of homes. We have level 2, which is pretty independent. These guys go out and work. They do all the chores at the house. They need very light supervision. Then we have level 3, which are a little older, and or have a disability that's a little more profound. They need extra staffing and extra help. And then the memory care homes or dementia care homes are level 4, which is 24/7. Biggest ratio. By the way, our ratio is like unheard of in the field. We have 4 care partners for 10 residents, which is 1 to 2.5, which you won't find anywhere else. It's 1 to 4, 1 to 6, 1 to 8, 1 to 10. Or in other cases, unfortunately, it might be more than that, and that's why we like to say that we're different on offering all this. So to answer your question, yes, it goes on ratio. There's folks that just need 1 care partner for 6 or 8 of them, but there are others that need almost like a one-on-one, and that's where volunteers can help us a lot.
Any other questions from you guys?
It's not a question. It's just an absolutely fascinating presentation. Thank you so much. It was extremely informative. I had several questions, but Barry kind of hit them all. And so I'll pass on the other questions to others. Thank you so much for that.
I'm just curious, what would the residents' life be if they didn't have those homes to go to?
Oh, me? Okay. Boring, and it might be even threatening to the quality of life. Because like I was saying, the new trend is to have homes within the communities for 4 or 6 beds. But in many cases, the neighbors don't welcome people with disabilities, particularly if they have level 4 disability, that it's aggression or there's profound autism and everything. And it's mostly because of ignorance. And Corey was saying to one of my slides, which I teach classes all the time, I have to put there that developmental disabilities are not diseases and they're not contagious. And believe it or not, some people still kind of like don't want to get too close, but mostly it's ignorance, like with things that we don't know, right? We tend to be defensive about it. But I've been surprised to find this, and I hope there's no doctors or anything here in the audience. I don't want to offend anybody, but I have taken residents to appointments, and I can see the level of ignorance even with health professionals where they will talk the whole time to me and don't even acknowledge the person. And I was like, hey, like, does it hurt? Why are you asking me? Ask him. And this is a person with Down syndrome that's fully verbal and able to answer your questions, but because of the ignorance, they assume that they're not able. I had one doctor tell me, oh, so does he have Down syndrome from birth? And I was like, wow, this is a doctor. And then I had another doctor who told me, oh yeah, he's mongoloid. And I was like, we haven't used that term since the 70s. You know, like is baffling. So that's why we got approved to teach these classes to nurses as well, and trying to make our way into the doctors having in their curriculum as they become doctors at least a few classes on intellectual disabilities. You know, so we're really trying to, along with other organizations, kind of get our way out there so these folks are getting the attention that they deserve as citizens with the same rights that you and me have.
Edward, Tom?
I'd just like to say thank you on behalf of Drew Williams. I don't know if you remember him 20 years ago, but Knox and June Williams were friends of mine, and he had a great life. And to answer Paul's question, they loved him dearly, and they provided for him, but Noah Holmes made him a man. Yeah.
Anybody else?
Sorry, I'll apologize ahead of time for this question, but sometimes federal funding comes with restrictions on religion. Do you have a spiritual program on the site or some kind of studies that you help them with?
Yeah, wasn't it originally a Catholic organization, and have you maintained your Catholic roots there?
Yes, yeah, so definitely being Catholics, we're part of the I'm sorry, I have problems with that word, archdiocese, sorry. We're part of them, and we attend Mass on weekends. We're part of the Knights Club, but we don't have any research like that within the, on the religious side that I can think of. I know with the federal level, we don't get a lot of grants or support, and then unfortunately, just recently with the change in political, kind of atmosphere, there was a freeze. So even our collaboration with UCSD right now is kind of like on standby, and we were having high hopes for that, but right now they are not able to release any of those funds to us. But as far as particularly on the spiritual side, no, I don't have anything. Oh yeah, no, definitely, definitely with that all throughout. Oh yeah, well, yeah, we're very much a Catholic. Or we respect and serve all faiths, but we are Catholic. Yeah, for sure.
Do you have Mass on site?
On special occasions, on Christmas and Thanksgiving. Yeah, Easter. Sorry.
I mean, you hit it. We're good.
Oh.
I'm Italian. I'm sure you can hear me without this. I'm a visual artist, and I'm also a chaplain resident. I'm very moved by this. This is the first that I've heard about it, even though I worked with the homeless down in Chula Vista for a time on the street. Are you looking for another visual artist? In terms of volunteer work, or to come and work with the residents, because I taught art in addition at the college level. So,
we actually have visions of starting a little art program.
Praise the Lord. Great. We'll talk afterwards. Okay.
Thank you so much for being here. I just want to share a personal story. My wife Marie's brother passed away at 40 from Down syndrome. One of the things that made his life complete was the fact that he was part of a group of 6 boys that were cared for in a residence by a couple that was just absolutely fantastic. And when I saw Noah Holmes a few years ago, I'm going, this is perfect. So that's one reason, guys, we push for support for Noah Holmes. is because I have that personal experience. And then in San Antonio, I have a granddaughter that has Down syndrome. So I'm hoping that something's going to be available for her when she's an adult, just like similar to what Noah Holmes is doing. So it would be kind of cool to see kind of a transition where Noah Holmes, and I think you're doing this already, actually helps other residential type homes from a smaller perspective. And I think I heard you talk about that maybe that's the way it's going, where maybe a group of 5 to 6 individuals can be cared for as an adult in that kind of a home environment, because it makes an absolute big difference, guys. Anyway, so not a question, just a statement.
Thanks, Boris. Over here.
Mine's just a quick statement. I have a nephew who now is going to be 52 years old, and my brother and his wife decided when she found out she was pregnant that, with the tests, decided to have the baby. And I have a close friend up here in San Diego, the same thing, is when they found out that now they had a daughter before, when they found out that the second daughter had these from the test, they decided to keep her. But then they had a third child, And so this is the type of thing that, in both cases, the one up here, she's 34, and when she was little, I used to come home from the ship, and I'd come up in the driveway, and she'd run all the way from the house next door and jump. Well, gee, I can't do that anymore, but she's still going to be 36 years old. And so just thank you, guys.
Real quick. We didn't really touch on this, but we have, outside of our residence, we have a program called Perch, which is our social community here all over San Diego County, where each month we offer different outings and things for adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Last month they went to the zoo. In February, we have a Sweethearts Ball. They go to the Natural History Museum. They do different things each month. But it's a group of, there's over 100 members. It's $99 for the year. You get benefits to everything. So if any of you know anyone in San Diego with intellectual or developmental disabilities that wants to get involved in that, it's really it creates a social group where they can all connect, and it's really a cool program.
So what do they do when someone, you said you took one of the residents to the doctors, and yeah, I'm a nurse. I've seen doctors do very good and very bad things. How do they cover those costs? Do they have any kind of like medical insurance, or does Noah Holmes have to help them out?
Well, because our folks are born with a disability, or they get it at an early age, they are, have a developmental disability, they usually have Medi-Medi. So they have both of those insurance, and they kind of cover, they're pretty covered for most things. Also, the parents, in most cases, are very responsible, and they set up a special needs trust. That also helps with big things like that. And I know I was asked to share a couple of stories, to help you not only with the theory and kind of like the blah, blah, blah of what's happening in their brains, but connect more with the human side. And ever since I've been managing the memory care homes, I can really write a book with things that happen. And recently, 2023 was a very hard year for us because we lost 7 residents because of dementia in the memory care home. So we couldn't even grieve, because then the other one, and then the other one. It was brutal. It was really hard. Because these were folks that were at Noah Homes for 20, 25, 30 years. We loved them. And it was something really hard. But I remember one in specific, one particular, that hospice came and told us that we were looking at maybe a week to go, after his illness. And we're talking about August. This guy, every year from January, he was talking about Christmas. And his speech was kind of limited, but he will always be saying, ho-ho coming, ho-ho, ho-ho, for January, February, March, April. Well, I left that day, with those news. And then, I'm sorry if I get teary-eyed, but I come back and I go to his room to see him, but he was bedridden at that point. The whole room was Christmas. It was decorated like Christmas. And it was the staff that did it. I will never take credit for that. It was not my idea. I was like, oh my God, they made Christmas happen for him in August in his room so he could have, and I'm talking about the tree, presents, a Santa Claus and everything there. And he died within, 2 or 3 days. And if that's not out of love for someone, I don't know what is. To me, it was amazing. We had another experience of somebody that was very hesitant about placing her sister with us at the memory care homes because they lived together and they grew up together as sisters for 57 years. So imagine yourself if they move you from the house that you've been in 57 years to, even if it's a beautiful place as Noah Homes, it's a big thing, life-changing. So she lived with us for like 3 or 4 years until she passed. And throughout those 3 or 4 years, the sister had this guilt in her of placing her. She almost come visit every day. And then when she started her final chapter of her life the last week, and she was there every day, and she was within hours of passing, we walk outside the room and she grabbed me, the sister did, and said, Jerry, you know that I've been having this guilt for 4 years. But after the outpouring of love and visitors that my sister has had the last few hours, I don't anymore. I brought her to the right place. To me, that was a huge compliment because the context of it. And I passed that on to the staff. I was like, Mary told me this. And they were like, what? Yeah, you guys did it just because of your care. One last story of somebody that was a personal friend, Patrick. And if you go to our website, and I commend you to be proud of what we're doing, and there's plenty of videos, our YouTube page and everything. You're gonna find Patrick there dancing to a Kiss song. I was made for loving you, baby. That song? He sings it in one of our festivals. Well, I took him to 3 Kiss concerts when he was in his prime. And I always tell people it was like watching 2 concerts. Kiss, which they are amazing, and what Patrick was doing, jumping up and down, high-fiving strangers, like dancing. It was like 2 shows. Well, he declined. He had Down syndrome, and the sister had bought him the tickets in Chula Vista, the amphitheater, to go to a concert, but he was not in good shape, in a wheelchair, not talking anymore, very, very little response. And for weeks, I was debating with the sister, should we take him or not? Is this the right thing to do or not? Finally, a couple days before the concert, I said, I'll take him. And if he's not having a good time, he falls asleep, whatever, we'll just head back, So we went there, we paint his face, we go to the venue and everything. I see no reaction at all. And he has his Kiss blanket on, his magazine. And I was still debating there, like, is this the right thing to do or not? If you're a Kiss fan, you know that when it's about to start the concert, they dim the lights, that it's pitch black. And then they say they're famous, you wanted the best, you got the best, the baddest band rock in the world, Kiss, in the concert. He mumbled the whole thing. And then I can finally sit back and said, oh, he's here, we're good, And the concert started. He didn't last the whole 2-3 hours, but we were there for a good hour, and then he passed within a month or so. And then I was like, I was happy that I wasn't the one preventing him from going to his last Kiss concert in whatever capacity he was, because I know he was there when he mumbled those little words, So there's plenty of stories like that. I recommend that you come out and visit, so you'll be more inclined to tell people about us. and to be proud of your Tootsie or ID drive that you do it with more energy because you know where the money is going, and it goes to a good use, good mission.
Well, I'd like to again thank you for sharing with us today. It's been very impactful. I kind of feel it myself after those stories. So let's give them a good round. And they do have a little bit of information here if you'd like to get more involved. I'm sure they wouldn't mind sticking around for a little while.